Hello and welcome. This is Rooflemonger, and my friends, in today's video we have some very interesting portents for the future of the Street Fighter franchise, specifically where the story is going. If you don't know how the main story of Street Fighter works, Street Fighter 3 has always been the end point of the franchise. So even games that have a higher number, Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 5, they all take place before Street Fighter 3. Street Fighter 3 has always been a fixed endpoint. No matter what, you can't go past it. However, now it seems that's no longer the case. The current director of the Street Fighter franchise, Takayuki Nakayama, he's had some interesting things to say. If you don't know the name, you've probably seen his face in a lot of the recent Street Fighter V seasonal updates, where the franchise has been really turning around under his guidance. And well, before we get into the weeds with the details, effectively Street Fighter 3 is no longer the end point. In fact, parts of Street Fighter V's story take place after the events of Street Fighter 3. So everything with Gil, the rise of Alex, all that kind of stuff, it happened after Street Fighter V, yes, but events in Street Fighter V, most notably I'm assuming the DLC characters, take place after the events of Street Fighter 3. So somewhere in between that time, the whole saga happened there. So there's definitely a lot to speculate and discuss about the future of the Street Fighter plot, now knowing this, that Street Fighter 6 will effectively definitely take place after Street Fighter 3. But first, let's take a look at some of the tweets Nakayama has been putting out, because it elaborates and clears up quite a bit of things. So here is the tweet chain where a lot of the stuff is discussed, and we have a loose translation thanks to one Rice over at the Reset Era forums. So one of the things discussed, and this is one of the crux of this entire video, is Ed's ending in Street Fighter V. So in Ed's ending, he forms Neo Shadaloo after the events where regular Shadaloo has been destroyed during the cinematic story mode of Street Fighter V. And Nakayama now confirms that these events where Neo Shadaloo is formed happened during the exact same timeline of Street Fighter 3. Which also means Street Fighter 3 takes place a few months after the events of Street Fighter V, going by this little quote here. So now, so many years of just speculation, wonder, all that kind of stuff, it's now tied up in a nice little bow. It's made pretty clear throughout Street Fighter V what little plot there is. People like Alex are just starting out. Gil is, kind of pulling back the curtain. So the events are getting ready for Street Fighter 3, and turns out it happens shortly after the events of Street Fighter V. And I guess that means Street Fighter 6 will start with Neo Shadaloo being a thing, all that kind of stuff, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But some of the biggest news... So you might have noticed that Neo Shadaloo has a friggin' gorilla, right? I've been obsessed with this guy for years at this point, wondering what the deal is. And now we know some stuff. First off, we got a name now. So the gorilla's name is Baba Muarim, which in my understanding is a Swahili language name. Loosely translates as father teacher. And on that note, speaking on Neo Shadaloo as a whole, people, what they get out of their powers from M. Bison, because they all have some manner of psycho power. Like the dude on the left, he apparently can teleport and warp. The gorilla is in charge of wisdom. So now the story can finally be told. Apparently our lord Baba Muarim has psycho wisdom as his power. Another thing that was brought up by Nakayama in the tweet thread is the status of some of the arcade mode endings. So the arcade mode endings are just like a single still, basically, sometimes funny, sometimes not necessarily meant to be canon, but he goes out of his way to mention 3 specific ones, 2 which are not canon, and 1 that is. Specifically, Falk and Ed's endings in their arcade modes in Street Fighter V, they're just dream fantasies, basically, right? Ed is basically out of the love of his adopted father, Balrog. He wants to be like Balrog a lot when he grows up, as it were, right? But they're just dreams. But the one that apparently did happen is Laura's Street Fighter 3 arcade ending. So Laura, officially not part of the Street Fighter 3 tournament, but she's just chilling back at the beach, and apparently Sean has won some manner of tournament. So he didn't obviously win Street Fighter 3, because canonically Alex won Street Fighter 3, but Apparently Sean has been winning side tournaments during the Street Fighter 3 timeline. And the last major things that these tweets give clarity on is perhaps the future of what Street Fighter 6 will be, at least as far as the plot goes. We mentioned a few moments ago when we're talking about the Neo Shadaloo crew, how they have aspects of M. Bison's power that is apparently very much on purpose. So Nakayama stating basically that the powers have been split across a bunch of different fronts. He lost the final battle with Ryu, M. Bison that is, in the cinematic mode of Street Fighter V, but if you know anything about the Street Fighter story as a whole, just because you beat M. Bison doesn't mean he's done. Beating Bison's physical form has been done multiple times over the course of Street Fighter, and that has never stopped him. To defeat M. Bison permanently, you have to basically destroy his spirit, his soul, the essence of the psycho power itself. Just beating his body, all it does is stall him. With the most recent DLC launches in Street Fighter V with Rose and Oro, this is something they've been kind of hinting at. So these are events that take place now after the end of Street Fighter 3. We now know Gil did his thing, and well, frankly, he lost. It's over with, right? Who knows if he has a second scheme? I guess we'll find out in the future. But the thing here is, with Rose and Oro's ending, they're like, yeah, Bison has been defeated, but things aren't okay yet. In fact, with Rose and her ability to see the future, she's like, the world's ending on a crash course with disaster. The world is gonna end. And for Rose and for Oro, I guess they have two different takes on it. The way Rose's ending works is basically it's like has to go back in time. Like we're going to do a whole Mortal Kombat 9, restart the timeline with the knowledge we have in the future and put it back in the past. I don't know. But that's how she wants to do it, to take it back to zero, as it were, like Street Fighter Zero, Street Fighter Alpha. Whereas Oro's take on the matter is simply, yeah, Bison's still a threat even if we beat him. The psycho essence is still around. That's the nature of psycho power. You can't destroy it head on with a punch. But if there was someone out there who was just pure, someone out there, pure of spirit, who wanted to get strong, not to conquer, not to destroy, but just for the sake of strength, you know, aka Ryu, right? That's pretty much what he's saying. This is the person who can finally take down Bison for real, once and for all. So who knows? I guess we have multiple paths. And we'll have to wait till the game comes out, Street Fighter 6, before we know what's happening. But we have this, and apparently Bison purposefully splitting his powers among the people of Neo Shadaloo, probably for some sort of like grand resurrection scheme, I'm guessing. We now have an inkling of where the story will be going for Street Fighter 6, at least part of it, because we still have Luke. Remember Luke? He's kind of a big deal. A lot of the marketing says like he's sort of might be the face of Street Fighter 6. So who even knows what his deal is, let alone all this other stuff we've been learning about, right? But with all that said, thanks to these tweets, we now have a fair bit of clarity on the story of Street Fighter as a whole. Once again, Street Fighter 3, it was always the grand mountain in the horizon, right? You can never go past Street Fighter 3. And I guess it's just as simple as saying, nah, we're going past Street Fighter 3. Screw it, right? So now this impassable barrier has been destroyed by a couple simple tweets. So Street Fighter 6 is free to be its own thing whenever it comes out. It doesn't have to worry about all the Gil, Alex stuff, worrying about poor Dudley getting his car stolen, all that crap. That's now in the rear view mirror. Street Fighter 6 can move forward unshackled by Street Fighter 3, like so many other plots of so many other Street Fighter games. And that's about the long and short of it for now. So Street Fighter 6 will be announced next year. Like, it technically doesn't even officially exist yet, even though we all know it's going to be a thing. But still, it's very interesting to see what'll happen. I'm interested in seeing what Luke's story will be when he releases as a DLC character and see what he has to offer to the greater story. And otherwise, that is about it for this video. So if you want to see the original tweets, I'll post the link in the video description. You can check it out for yourself. If you want to post in the comments below what you think about all this as a whole, what you think about what might be happening in the story of Street Fighter 6, I would love to hear it, because Street Fighter is very near and dear to me, and when the time comes for Street Fighter 6, I'm going to be all over that. But otherwise, we're at the end of the video, so thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well. And go out and play some Street Fighter 6 whenever that comes out.
is the love making. This is the love making.